Good morning. This is Thomas from thomasyoungauthor.com, and this is another morning update on July 31st, 2026. And you see, today, I want to talk to you a little bit more about, all the piggy stuff I've been telling you about. And, because it's such a large subject, because you see, I've so many things to say that sometimes it's so much that I feel like I cannot say anything at all. So it's really hard for me to make these, what is it, 10, 15-minute videos and decide on what to talk about. But I let my intuition tell me what I have to say. Um, Yesterday I told you about, you know, those pigs, Tom and Berto from Sittard, who hold these piggy parties. And then there are two guys here living in this town, in the apartment building surrounding the railway station, also two pigs. And I've been thinking about those two pigs because you see, yesterday I passed by that apartment building and I was thinking, if I imagine myself or someone else living with them in that apartment building, and they are having all the piggy parties, every weekend, there must be some neighbor, who takes issue with that. So I think let's imagine just for a second that someone like that would call the police and say, listen, these guys are having, piggy parties every weekend. And there are all these piggies coming into the building in the middle of the night. And then they come together and then they speak about, sex in the most vulgar ways. And they are, they are smoking methamphetamine. They bring all these drugs into the building. What do you think a police officer would say? They would say, well, what can we do? This is a free country. They can do whatever they want. And by the way, we, we have, um, you know, an LGBTQ police officer, an LGBTQ department here at the police that protects all these piggies. You see, because, you know, if you don't watch your mouth, we will, we will press charges for discrimination because you have insulted all those piggies. This is the kind of world, we live in now. This is something, a lot of people starting to realize. And well, it doesn't scare me as much as it used to, because um, I have lived under the morality of such people for the past 10 years, and I know what they are all about. And another funny story about these two guys is that the pigs who live in that apartment complex, one of them who shares the same hairdresser as I do. I mean, ever since he knows that we do that, he changed his haircut. You see, so in a way, I was an inspiration to him. That is the irony in all this, you know, because he has this huge hair, these huge ears, and his previous haircut didn't didn't help him with that problem. So now he has a haircut that actually makes him look better. So I'm glad to have been an inspiration for you. In the notes, I will also link a a video about a podcast from a guy who calls himself Gray Young. I mean, he's a German who lives in Berlin, and he calls himself Gray Young as if that were his name. What I always find funny about, especially these gay people, but especially people in Berlin, they always use English words and English expressions, although they don't speak the English language. I find that always funny. I mean, I speak German, so when I speak German, I speak German. When I speak Dutch, I speak Dutch. When I speak English, I speak English. But these people think they're somehow cool if they throw English names into everything, and even though they don't speak the language, and have these English names. I mean, what does this tell us about these people? But that is not even so much why I share the video, because he has a podcast called Gay Over, and I want to show you one video in particular. In this video, this podcaster, Graham, he shares an experience, a sexual experience he had, a threesome, and he claims that was the best threesome of his life. And you can watch him talk about that threesome in this podcast. I mean, most people here understand the German language, and I really invite you to look at this, because yesterday, I talked about, the gang stalkers and the criminals and how they are basically cruel teenagers. And if you want to know how they speak, not only at the piggy parties, but in general, you have to listen to what he says. Because that guy from the podcast, he's slightly older than I am. I think he's 47, 48 years old. But he represents what I mean. If you talk like that when you were my age or his age, there is something really wrong with you. There is something really dark about you. And I want you to listen to him and then decide for yourself, what do you think if someone who's almost 50 years old talks like that? I mean, these are dangerous people. But now this is considered normal behavior, acting like a teenager when you're 50, that's considered normal. Nobody nobody thinks you're not allowed to judge. We live in this culture, this non-judgmental culture. We are never allowed to judge anymore about these things. You can say, oh, sorry, I don't like you speaking like this. I don't know, it makes me feel uncomfortable. I don't want to hang around people who talk like that or who like live like that. I don't know. But Tom and Berto and these other two pigs from the railway station apartment building here, they also, this is the language they speak, and this is the language being spoken at the piggy party. You see, I'm also, I mean, I admit it. I mean, there's nothing to admit. I'm not ashamed of it. I'm myself, you know, always very much drawn to the piggy lifestyle. I mean, I've lived the piggy lifestyle for a couple of years even. And for me, it's still, I mean, sometimes it's not always, but sometimes it's a daily struggle. Thomas, don't be such a piggy. This is not healthy. You're a grown man now. Don't be such a piggy anymore. I think many men have that problem, especially men. But you see, what these people are trying to do, they say, no, it's perfectly fine to be a piggy. You can be a piggy for the rest of your life. Because you see, they will say stuff like, listen, you have attended a piggy party, or you have been to a bathhouse, or you have, lived a promiscuous lifestyle. Therefore, you're a lifelong piggy. Because if you don't do that, you're a hypocrite. You're judgmental and you're a homophobe. That's how these people coerce people into that lifestyle. They don't have to blackmail them or force them anything, but with this kind of childlike reasoning, people are, coerced into the gay identity, into that kind of gay lifestyle. You see, because they also I mean, I'm a homosexual, but I never ever would dare to speak on behalf of all homosexuals or tell other people what being a homosexual is all about. But these people do that. They seem to have no issue doing that. Because they are dangerous, because these are the people the politicians listen to. They are, according to them, they are the representatives of what these people now call the gay community, which in a narrow sense is still the criminal world surrounding that. But no, 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 they claim, no, 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 this is not just the narrow world, this is the collective of homosexuals they speak for. I mean, there was this world pride in Amsterdam. I mean, if I see those pictures, I mean, I could vomit. I mean, these people don't represent me or many other homosexuals, and I hope more people, I wouldn't say won't start speaking out on this, but will make clear that that these people, these criminals, these disgusting people, because that's they don't represent homosexuals. They represent their little criminal, narrow-minded world. Yeah, that was it for today. Thank you for listening, and I will post another video tomorrow. Have a nice day.